Let's talk about something that's become as American as apple pie, the immigration crisis. I say crisis, but this isn't a sudden disaster. It's the result of decades of neglect and political gamesmanship. You see the headlines: chaos at the border, families in camps, tent cities in city parks. Social services are strained, drugs are trafficked, and politicians argue while communities suffer. This isn't just a border state problem anymore, it's a national one. The system we once had, flawed but functional, has been left to rot. Now, it's a car held together with duct tape, careening down the highway with no one at the wheel. It's easy to blame the people arriving at our border, but they're the consequence, not the cause. The real story is about choices made in boardrooms and Congress, not at the border. The chaos we see is the direct result of deliberate decisions by those in power. They broke the system, then sold outrage to the public, blaming the very people the system failed. For the next few minutes, let's connect the dots and see how we got here. Not to wallow in despair, but to understand the mechanics of this disaster. Because this isn't an accident, it's the outcome of a system designed to fail for political and financial gain. And that's a level of audacity that's hard to ignore. Believe it or not, US immigration policy once functioned imperfectly, but it worked. There were rules, processes, and a sense of order, even if the system was slow and sometimes unfair. For much of the 20th century, quotas and priorities shaped who could come, and there were legal pathways for work, family, or refuge. The system was discriminatory, but it had logic. We decided who entered and how many. After 1965, the focus shifted to family reunification and skilled labor, aiming for more equity. For a while, people knew the rules and the line to get in. The number of unauthorized residents was far lower than today. Bureaucratic? Yes, but not a free-for-all. In 1986, Reagan signed a bipartisan reform amnesty for millions. Tougher enforcement promised. The amnesty happened. The enforcement didn't. That's when the slow dismantling began, not with a bang, but with neglect. The system's foundation cracked and powerful interests moved in. The old system wasn't perfect, but it was a system. What replaced it was a vacuum, filled by those who profited from chaos. That's when things truly broke down. And the consequences are what we're living with now. The 1986 compromise failed because business interests wanted it that way. Corporate America, agriculture, construction, hospitality, became dependent on cheap, undocumented labor. Hiring undocumented workers meant lower wages, no benefits, and no complaints. Government looked the other way, politicians took donations, and everyone pretended to care. The system was kept just broken enough to ensure a powerless workforce. It wasn't a bug, it was a feature. Billions were saved, and Congress was lobbied to do nothing. The goal: keep the border porous for labor, but the law broken enough to deny rights. This alliance between business and government is the original sin of our crisis. It created a shadow economy and set the stage for today's political firestorm. Politicians discovered that an unsolved immigration crisis was a goldmine. Why fix a problem when you can campaign on it forever? Republicans fired up their base with talk of walls. Democrats signaled compassion but avoided tough choices. The safest move was to do nothing and blame the other side. Real reform was political suicide. The 2013 Gang of Eight bill was a rare, genuine compromise. Pathway to citizenship, more border security, new legal systems. It passed the Senate, then died in the House, never even brought to a vote. The message: it's better to let the system rot than risk political backlash. Paralysis became the norm, and every year the problem got worse. Politicians stopped seeking solutions. They became outrage merchants, and the crisis became permanent. As politicians exploited the crisis, conservative media turned it into a ratings bonanza. Outlets like Fox News didn't just report, they weaponized immigration, turning it into a nightly spectacle of fear. Complex issues became simple narratives: invasion, cultural decay, us versus them. Fearful viewers became loyal viewers and voters. Media pressure made compromise impossible. The 2013 Reform Bill, conservative media destroyed it, scaring politicians into inaction. The media became a shadow government, vetoing real solutions. The result, a feedback loop of hysteria, outrage, and political paralysis. Policy debate became culture war. And in a culture war, there's no room for compromise. The system kept breaking while the outrage machine kept churning, and the real problem was never addressed. The result? A permanent underclass? 11 million people living in fear, outside the law, but inside our economy. They build our cities, pick our food, care for our kids, yet have no rights or power. Their vulnerability is what makes them valuable to employers. They can't report abuse or organize. They're the perfect workforce for exploitation. Politically, they're the perfect scapegoat, blamed for crime, budget woes, and wage stagnation. This isn't an accident, it's the system working as designed. The human cost is immense. Fear, mistrust, and suffering spill into entire communities. Children fear school, victims avoid police, the sick avoid hospitals. We've created a parallel society, sick, scared, and disconnected. This instability breeds crime and social friction affecting everyone. The system dehumanizes migrants and coarsens us all. We profit from misery, then use it as a political weapon. It's a moral and practical failure of epic proportions. Then came Trump, promising to smash the system and build a wall. His approach was loud, blunt, and for a moment felt like a real change. But you can't fix a rotted foundation by yelling and building fences. Trump's policies, travel bans, family separation, remain in Mexico, were meant to deter, not solve. Border crossings dipped briefly, but the root causes remained. The legal system stayed broken, the economic demand for cheap labor persisted. Trump's tough talk didn't change the quiet alliance between business and government. The architecture of the crisis was untouched. His presidency showed that simplistic, harsh solutions can't fix decades of neglect. The suffering increased, the debate got angrier, but the machine kept running. When his policies were relaxed, border numbers surged again. The pressures, push from failing states, pull from our labor market, never went away. Trump changed the tone, but not the outcome. Now, in 2025, the system is more broken than ever, and the blame game is all we have. It's easy to blame migrants. They're the visible face of the crisis, but are they really at fault? They're responding to desperation, not causing the collapse. The real blame lies with politicians who chose paralysis, businesses that profited, and voters who rewarded outrage over solutions. It's a web of responsibility, not a single villain. Migrants are just the last, most visible link in a long chain, the uncomfortable truth we all share in the blame, and until we face that, nothing will change. So who broke America's immigration system? The answer is simple and uncomfortable. We all did. Corporate lobbyists, cynical politicians, and media outrage merchants deserve the most blame. They built this crisis for profit and power. But their strategy only worked because we let it. We were distracted by spectacle, divided by fear, and seduced by easy answers. We enjoyed the benefits of a broken system, ignoring the human cost. Fixing this will require honesty, maturity, and shared sacrifice. We must demand more from our leaders and ourselves. The next time you see chaos at the border, ask, who benefits from this, and what role have I played? The immigration crisis is a moral failure, a reflection of who we've become. We can't fix it until we're willing to face that reflection.